Okay, so let's take a look at problem 1s from polynomial equations. So first thing we see in each of those brackets is a repeated sort of expression. I'm going to use substitution to try to shrink that down. If I replace all of that repeated expression with something else, something simpler like an a, I can get to that equation, and now I have a quadratic equation. Probably don't like that divide by 12, and so I'm going to multiply every term by 12 to at least get rid of my fraction, and now I can tackle to try to go through and factor. Maybe we factor the previous line, but then we're thinking two numbers will multiply to give 10 and add to give 77 twelfths. At least in this case, everything's a whole number. We're probably even more comfortable to sub that into quadratic formula if needed. I'm going to go through and I'm going to factor. If I take my 120 and I try to break that down, like I can see that I've got 4, 3, 5, and 2 in there. I know that I can't put an even number up here beside that 4, because then that means that I would have had a common factor in my original equation, and I see that I don't have that. So no even number across there. That means I can only put odds. I think I'm going to factor that into 15 and 8. Because when I do factor that, there's a negative 32 and a negative 45. That can get me negative 77. So I'm going to go through, I'm going to factor that into a 4a minus 15 times a 3a minus 15, and we're good. I didn't ask you to solve for a, so let's go and let's sub a equals x minus 1 over x back into the original equation so that we can make sure that we're actually solving for what the problem asked. Now, that does get us up to this as an equation. And I'm hoping that I can fit this in, as this gets pretty long. Now, my guess is we're going to probably multiply both sides by x squared. If I multiply by x in the first factor, then that's going to get me. And if I multiply by x in the second factor, then that's going to get me. That we can come in on that line. You're probably going to go through and write each of those in standard form. And now I don't think you need me to finish. Now we see that you could either try to factor further each of those individual factors, or worst case is you're going through quadratic formula to solve. So hopefully that helps you to get your way through 1s.